Les Misérables.
Hmm.
Um, why is it the world's favorite musical?
And who would have thought it would be, given the fact that the reviews were putrid when it came out in London? It's really very surprising that that the critics did not respond to it, and it's really very interesting that when it came to America a couple of years later, the reviews were ecstatic. Why is that? What was it that did not make it go with for the critics, and yet the public just wouldn't stop coming? It's still there in London. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing that after, I mean, we think of Phantom as the longest running musical, but in London, Les Mis is because it opened before Phantoms.
Why is it the world's most popular?
Because it's good. Those songs are wonderful. My friend John Harrison says it best. It's not just the music is wonderful, there's a spirituality to the music. And I think he's right. I think there really is a hauntingly feeling of, yeah, spirituality. That's what makes it really special. Um, and I remember getting the CDs, and I'm telling you, it took me the longest time to get through the entire thing because I kept on playing one song after another. I mean, I was just thrilled by it. So I think it's the music that really has made people appreciate it more than anything else. It was effectively staged, no question about it. And I will say that it disproves a theory I have always had. And nobody's ever brought this up to me when I bring this up, but I will bring up the objection. But I've often said you cannot let an audience go very long when they're seeing a musical, when it's just starting out. I'm talking about the first scene. You cannot let an audience go very long without having them applaud, because if nobody's applauding, I think subconsciously they're thinking, they don't know this, but subconsciously thinking, nobody's applauding. I wonder if this is any good. And I really think that hurt Merrily We Roll Along the first time around because there was an enormously long sequence before anybody got to applaud. Well, Les Mis takes a long, long time before anybody applauds, and certainly hasn't heard it at all. But to me, the fact that it's so grandiose is one of the reasons why that barricade was very effective at that time. Remember, the barricade came long before the chandelier, the helicopter, etc., the floating mansion in Sunset Boulevard. So I think the spectacle of it was really something too. And so you saw the money on the stage. It had an enormous cast. And at that point, the British musical was really finding its own. Now, some people say, well, this is not a British musical. It was written by French guys. Yes, of course. But it was done in the style of a British musical. And of course, a British guy had to do the translation and all that went with that. But here's the situation when we really were getting into more operatic musicals. And there was a feeling, it was staged very much like operas was staged as opposed to musicals. And I think that that helped it as well. But whatever the case may be, I really do believe it's the score that made people fall in love with Les Mis, and that's why it has been so popular. Because wow, to me, it's almost a greatest hits album. There's very little in Les Mis that I don't respond to musically, and I'm delighted every time I have the chance to see it.
What do you find more impressive? Javert's suicide, the turntable, or the barricade?
Well, I love things like when you have simple stage effects that pack a wallop. So as a result, I would say that Javert's suicide, because indeed the way it's done is so simple, and yet it really is arresting to the eye. It's a trompe l'oeil type of thing in a strange sort of way, because what you have is somebody who isn't doing anything that's going to hurt him terribly much, but it looks like he really is falling to his death. So I love that type of thing. And so that's my favorite of the three that you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
But I'd never seen anything like Javier's suicide, so that's why it affected me.
Peter Felicia's Broadway appears in every issue of the Broadway Maven's Weekly Blast.